get around people that you admire and then listen to them. So, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because a lot of times we like to get around people. In fact, it is natural to get around people that affirm who we already are. That helps us to most easily feel understood, and that is important. However, if who you are does not serve the goals that you've set for yourself, or worse yet, you've not set any goals for yourself, being around people who will simply affirm who you are does not serve you. It cannot serve you. So that's why it's important to get around people that you admire and listen. I'm going to tell you a few stories from my life that illustrate this point. One of my earliest mentors in business was a manager that I had while working for a company based out of North Carolina. And while there, I was in my early 20s. I was a couple years removed from college. So I was in, the very early stages of my professional adult career. And I got there and I thought I was smart. I thought I was a hard worker. And I thought I was capable of doing great things in my life. And all of these things were true. What I did not have was wisdom, experience, and perspective. And truth be told, through most of my life, that reality had not really been challenged for me. So I was really moving through my life with this perspective that, everything's going to work out for me because it always has, and people like me, and my intelligence and charm would be enough. Until I met this mentor. He invested a fair amount of time and interest into my personal development, for which I'm appreciative for his investment into me. And here are a few of the lessons that I gleaned from him. The first one was, listen up. You're just a kid and you don't know what you think that you know. And I was offended by this. I was offended because I didn't want to believe that. And had I maintained that posture, the rest of the lessons would not have been able to fall into fertile soil so that they could develop and help to develop me into a better professional, better business person. So after that, I knew that I could see where his career had taken him. I could see where his life had taken him. And I could see that I liked that. And I wanted that. So I had a simple choice. And that simple choice was not so easy to do. So that choice was, I can be around this man whom I admired certain achievements in certain areas of his life. And I could listen to what he was saying. Strongly consider what it is that he was saying, or I could be resistant to what he was saying. And it became evident to me that worst case, I'll learn something that moves me closer in the direction of the success that he's already achieved, because some of that success I desire to achieve. Or I could just be resistant, not listen, and say he doesn't know what he's talking about, even though the evidence was there to support that he did know what he was talking about. I could have just been pig-headed and not listening. So I decided to listen there. The next lesson he taught me was that the most important thing that you can decide and do for yourself is to decide who you want to be, how you want to be, and stand firm in that. Now, why is this lesson important? A lot of times, especially now that I'm in management of other people, people want to be led. And most people want to be led in a very specific way. And I'll tell you why. Because I was this person, so I understand this like viscerally. Is that a lot of times people want you to tell them exactly what to do and how to do it. Because when that happens and you follow through on their command, well, it's not your fault if it didn't work out. It's on them. And the danger, or it's on the person who gave the command. And the danger of that for the person who gave the command is that it feeds your ego to feel as if you have that much power and control over other people. That feeling can be intoxicating. And you can lose sight of the outcomes because the only outcome you're concerned with is people's compliance rather than the outcomes, the objective outcomes that support the goals that you've set for your business. So what that could look like is saying, okay, we need to produce $100,000 of profit in the next month. And in producing that profit, you need people to do certain things. You tell people to go do these things, and it works out. And you're like, oh great, I'm really good at predicting what needs to happen. The next month people do something else, and it doesn't work out, but maybe you get 80% there. You're just like, you know what? I'm still pretty good at making this happen. And those individuals who are doing the work, they really have they don't feel necessarily a strong sense of responsibility in any of that success. So then you can start to enter into this state of delusion as a leader, and the state of delusion is as a follower. And delusion is the same in saying that, okay, the leader thinks I'm really good at predicting things, and the employee thinks I'm doing a good job because I'm listening to what they tell me to do. When in fact, what's more productive is for every individual to decide what they want to be and who they want to be and how they want to be. That way, if it doesn't work out, and let's say your manager gives you an assignment, and you're like, man, I don't think that's going to work. I know that's not going to work, but I can do this other thing that I know is going to work. You can't be penalized for being successful. And guess what? If you do fail, at least you failed doing what you wanted to do. And those were the exact words that he gave me. That's the exact way that he phrased it. That really stuck with me. And it's the same thing whether you're a leader or a follower. It's deciding that. Now, you can still decide to be an employee. You can decide to support a mission. You can decide to be to follow through on commands that are given to you. But at the end of the day, if something doesn't work out, stuff tends to roll downhill. And if it's going to roll downhill on you either way, at least let it roll down and you were doing what you want to do. That's important. One of the next lessons he taught me was to think of fairness less as something that has to do with moral righteousness and a lot more to do with consistency. So this guy was a real hard-charging manager, and he'd be like cussing, and he was like super intense all the time. And that could be overwhelming for a person. For me, it was refreshing because my personality tends to be the same way. I could be like a pretty unrelenting person when I really want to get something done. So I was looking at that, and that resonated with me. And it was still hard for me, but it resonated. And one day, he sat me down, we went to lunch, and he says, hey, David, the reason I'm this way is because I want you to know what you can expect from me every single day. I don't ever want you to think that my approach is going to change based on whatever comes out of the other end. My approach is always the same because my approach leads to those outcomes. So I have to be consistent in my approach to have consistent outcomes. And if I'm inconsistent in my approach, the outcomes will be inconsistent. And then you will also not know what to expect from me each and every day. And if you don't know what to expect from me each and every day, I'm not serving as a good leader or a good manager because of my inconsistency. And that really stuck with me. So I began to resolve. He pointed out traits inside of myself and times where I was very consistent. My work ethic was dependent on my mood. My mood was dependent on whatever. I was undisciplined in some of my sleeping, eating habits. I was undisciplined in so many areas of my life. Well, that if you're undisciplined in one area of your life, you'll tend to be undisciplined in a very similar way in other areas of your life. So what he instilled in me in that lesson was, you need to learn to be more consistent. Because when you approach life and you approach business in a more consistent and disciplined way, you'll have a better shot at having consistent, favorable, and desirable outcomes that you want. But it starts with that consistency, and that consistency in itself is fairness. So if you look at, if you had two parents as an example, and you have one parent that's kind of all over the place with how they approach you as a child, you have another parent that's very just consistent in how they approach things and how they deal with you. Well, the parent that's more consistent, you tend to have more trust in. And you don't tend to have more trust in them because you like everything that they say or do, but you know what to expect. And that's important. That's the foundation of fairness, and that's how trust is built. So that was another lesson I learned. If you're just tuning in, this live is all about getting around people that you admire and listening. Because those people, you admire them because you think or you see something in how they live or how they approach life that you like, and you want to be more like that. That's why you admire them. So the wisest thing you can do is get around more and more of these people and begin to listen. I'm going to shift gears a little bit to another mentor I had. I live here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I had a mentor who'd been in business in this area for over 40 years. He recently passed away earlier this year. Rest in peace to my good friend Drew. But I learned a lot from Drew. And one of the things that I learned from him, because I developed a relationship with him personally and professionally, and he really began to pour into me and help me to grow as a person and as a business person as well. And one of the things I learned from Drew was the importance of building relationships. And that was a real paradigm shifting lesson for me. And I'll tell you why. My background is I'm an engineer. I was one of those kids who always did well in school, from kindergarten through high school. I did reasonably well in college. But what I learned from Drew was that it's not all about what you know. It's not even always about who you know. So it's, there's a popular saying that says, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think that misses the mark. Especially according to what I learned from Drew. It's not just important for people to know you. People need to like you. And the easiest way for people to like you is for you to like other people. And the easiest way for you to learn to like other people is to show up with a smile, with something positive to say, an encouraging word, to be on time, to be a problem solver, to be a connector, even when it doesn't necessarily benefit you directly in that moment. So one thing that I learned from Drew is, I used to consider myself to be a very shy person just maybe 3-4 years ago. I wouldn't be on a live on social media, let alone, speak in front of a group of people about something that wasn't, technical or very objective oriented. But what I learned from Drew was it's important to go into a room with limited expectation. That's something he told me. He said, just going with limited expectation. The only expectation that you have is that you're going to meet people that you like and that like you, and that you're going to be able to find something that you can do together that benefits both of you. And worst case, you just go into that room and say, I'm here to help people. I'm going to help connect the dots. Maybe I know somebody that they need to know. Maybe I have a resource that they need. And if you help enough people get what they want, those people are going to help you get what you want. that's how reciprocity works. And it's not a tit for tat thing. It's not like I scratch your back with an anticipation that you're going to scratch mine. But if you start to really develop the spirit of being a servant to others, that's going to naturally make you a more attractive person. You're going to start to attract the kinds and quality of people that you really want to have around you. You're going to start to attract the opportunities that you desire. You don't have to chase them down. They're going to chase you down. But it all starts with that lesson I learned from this man that I admire, a good friend and mentor of mine, to be a people for the people, to help them solve problems. And sometimes that help could be in the form of a business connection. Sometimes it could be in the form of an encouraging word. Sometimes it could be in the form of, helping a person out with a couple dollars. Just to say, hey, my spirit led me to say, hey man, here's $100. Or, another thing I learned from him is just being a generous person. So it's like, one thing I learned from him was when he went into a restaurant, before he received any service, he would tip whoever was waiting on him. He might give them 10, 20, 50, $100. Just give them the money. And the first time I saw that, I was like, man, you don't even know what kind of service you're gonna get. Why are you already doing that? Another way to think about this, he helped me see, is, well, if I go ahead and give it to him now, what are the chances I'm going to get a bad service experience? You stand out that way. You're helping that person know that, hey, I appreciate you. I see you. I'm already looking forward to the service. How do you think they're going to respond to you when you lead with that much generosity and that much gratitude? It's going to land well. Here's another lesson I learned from another guy I admire. His name is Bob. He passed away earlier this year. And great man, great family man, great businessman, just a great personality all around. I learned a lot from Bob. And one thing I learned from him was, because I admire how he lived, I admired how his family respected him and admired him. And I want my family to respect me and admire me that way, and I want to be a man of integrity in business. Was one of the things I learned from Bob, and I learned many things, was just the importance of the company that you keep. And he said, I can usually figure out in the first 5 minutes of meeting a person if this is a person that I need to be around, that I even want to be around. And I want to be clear that he said this in a way that did not imply that he was judging a person in a negative way. What he helped me to see was, because I didn't want to be judgmental so badly that I would just invest and spend time in relationships that weren't serving me, that weren't serving the other person. And this could be business, this could be friendships, and this could also be intimate relationships. That I am where I am. You need to know that. You need to know where you want to be. And then you need to also know, is this a person that I can help or that can help me? Can we help each other? And you have to develop that discernment that allows you to know, is this going to be a productive relationship or not? Because, spending time with the wrong people, a selfish way to look at that is, man, this is going to help. I'm going to waste time, or I'm going to end up harmed in this situation. A more productive way to think about that is, who can I not help because I spent my time here? How am I hurting myself by investing this energy in a way that cannot produce a return that helps to support where I want to be and who I want to be? So, that's a lesson I learned from Bob. These lessons of timeliness, if these are values important to you, you want to spend more time around people whose values and way of living supports yours. Currently waking, what's going on? I appreciate that, brother. I really do. So, again, the content of this message is all about getting around people that you admire and listening to them. Not having a haughty heart, meaning you don't want to listen. because you think that your way is so right. What you're not doing is stopping to consider, if I was so right, well, I shouldn't also be unhappy. You can't be right and unhappy. They don't go together. Okay? So if you're not where you want to be, that means you're not who you need to be, which means you haven't learned the lesson you need to learn. And the easiest way to learn that lesson is from people who they already are where you want to be, or they already are who you want to be. So you need to make an effort, a special effort, to get around these people, spend time with them, listen to what they have to say, take heed to their advice. Be brave and courageous enough to put into action the advice that they give you. It'll really change your life. It'll really bless you. I don't want to run this on longer than necessary. I appreciate each and every one of you who spent time with me today. I appreciate your time and attention. This page is all about helping men become better men through lessons learned, through encouragement, through connection, through just straightforward truth. Look, I appreciate you. I love you. I'm praying for you.